Thank you so much for joining me today, Carsten. It's a pleasure to meet you. Can you introduce yourself for the Informs members?
My name is Carsten Jordan. I'm in product management at Kinaxis. Kinaxis is, at least here, I'm not sure whether they're a sponsor, but at least they were at the Analytics Business Conference. We do supply chain planning tools. So, and in product management, I get to do the new stuff, and I like that.
Great. And roughly how long have you been an Informs member?
So, and I don't really know exactly, because it's been a real long time. Exactly. I joined after, I think during my PhD. So this should have been 1994, 5, 6, something like that.
Okay, so
it's a long time. Yeah.
Okay. So how have you seen Informs change since the 1990s?
Yeah, so this is kind of the question which I can answer, not everybody can, because I'm so long a member. And I've got to say, so I've been with Informs a little more active at the beginning. Then you have your professional life where when I was working, not everything was really Informs related, so I wasn't attending that often. And now with Kinaxis, since we're building this partnership with academia a little stronger, I'll be here more often. So I can really say, and that's a good thing in my opinion. Informs gotten a lot more diverse. Minorities, good gender distribution, a lot of younger people. I remember being in Germany. Okay, so this is not Informs, but it's a sister organization similar to Informs, and I was the only youngster among a lot of elderly white males. So we still had good discussions, but it wasn't as diverse as Informs is. So from that perspective, I think Informs has been doing a good job to promote itself.
Great, and we appreciate you sticking with us through your whole career, even when you didn't have times you necessarily needed us.
Yeah, and it's ups and downs. I think I think Informs also, in particular in the last years, has done a good job in staying relevant. I would say if Informs just had stuck with, the only thing we do is optimization models and we leave all the other stuff to other organizations, you wouldn't be where you are right now.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. So really I see the synergy. People are a lot more interested basically in solutions. They're not necessarily interested of whether this is this or the other algorithm. And Informs captures that. At least that's my impression.
Great. Thank you. Tell us how you first became interested in operations research and analytics. Where did this start for you?
So, well, yeah, I not during high school. During high school, I did some. Well, I could never make up my mind whether it's social sciences or mathematics, so I did kind of both. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But in my studies, the idea I always had is, okay, so my background is mechanical engineering, business administration, so I did a fair amount of mechanical engineering, and that's all geared towards, building a machine. And what I learned is, okay, so you can do that, but you can also think about the brain in the machine. How can you control the machine? Can you control it even better? And when you extrapolate that to systems, then it's not necessarily building a new manufacturing system, but how can I schedule it in the best possible way? How can I be more efficient, save money, or save emissions, or make more money by maximizing revenue? And that's something I got interested in. I had a very good operations research professor who referred me then to his PhD student who had become professor elsewhere, and that's how I did my PhD thesis, and it was great. So what I liked at that time that Andreas Drexel really sent us to Informs, sent us to other conferences, was very supportive, and he wasn't there to hold my hand when I was presenting. So, and that's good for students, well, for me in particular, and for my whole group. So I'm very, very grateful for that. I had a good time in academia.
Okay. So tell us about your career journey and what led you to Kinaxis.
Well, one of the questions you can't, or you have to answer yourself once you are in the. And I was teaching, so I had I was employed by the Land of Schleswig-Holstein, which is my PhD student was really my first job, so I was being assistant professor at the same time with teaching and some other faculty stuff coming at the same time. So the question is whether you stay in this or not. Mm-hmm. And now circle back to this operations research approach. You need to do something. You need to be better. If you do something better, then that's worth it. And I wasn't seeing that by writing the umpteenth publication. I've written a few, but it's just writing a publication in itself. It's not cutting it. And then I started working in industry and doing some real stuff. A lot of projects with information systems, and that has been throughout my whole career until I came across the Kinaxis software on the customer side. I was with Qualcomm for a very long time, okay. And very good company, so had a lot of fun there. But then eventually I figured I'm really interested in improving supply chain planning. Now I can do that at Qualcomm, and I did that for a while, mm-hmm. But it's better to go to the vendor directly because that's their core product. And Kinaxis is a good company, so I knew them for a real long time. Okay. And making the switch to Kinaxis was great. So, and on top of that, now we're doing this collaboration with academia. I'm in my function in product management. I'm working on something called supply.ai. That is bringing optimization into our product, which is new to Kinaxis. So Kinaxis hasn't been doing this before. And making this one successful is a privilege to work with my colleagues at Kinaxis and do that. So I'm very happy in what we're doing. And sometimes it's just, there's so much to do. How can we get it done? Yeah.
Great, thank you. So you mentioned yourself in high school about deciding between social sciences and mathematics. So how else were you in high school? Tell us about your high school self and maybe some advice you'd give.
Okay, so I went to high school in Germany, and unless you're a really good soccer player, you're not very popular. Oh. So I wasn't a good soccer player. So, but eventually the nerdy things just take over the closer you get to the end of high school. At that time, I got a little more popular because I could explain a lot of things to other people, and actually met my wife at that time. So if
in high school?
In high school,
wow.
We're high school sweethearts. So
wow.
It's been great. Yeah. So at high school, I probably was more the kind of nerdy guy, but avoided the worst. So
good.
Okay.
Well, that's good. So speaking of high school students or undergrads, how can we start promoting or better promote analytics careers to these students?
One of the things is, unfortunately, you need to have a little bit of math background. So if you don't grasp math concepts, then it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. However, and I've seen that with my kids, and since I've shepherded them through high school and had very deep interest in their STEM and in particular the math education, mm-hmm. You can do this well, math, or not so well. And I think there is a lot we can do in math education to show high school students, and that's actually true for university as well. What's this good for? Yeah. Why is it important to know a set, to find an intersection? Why is it important to describe intersections and solving equations, and make the point of, okay, so here's the mathematical foundation, mm-hmm. but here's something you can do with it. Here's where you save money, or these days save emissions and so on.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure does that answer the question.
Yeah, that's interesting because I feel like most high school students who aren't great at math, and I was one of them, you sit in class and you think, when am I ever going to use this? And they don't tell you that part, right? They're just trying to teach you because that's part of the curriculum to learn that,
Well, no, so I'm there's more to it. Yeah, and how do you improve education? And there's Bill Gates saying, well, hire better teachers. That's the number one thing. Now, if we need to invest in our teachers and make sure that they are interested in doing this, and that you get interested teachers doing this this piece of education rather than somebody who has to do it. And yeah, so it's not only that you go to the school and complain about it, but it's more a general ecosystem.
Right. Well, yeah.
We don't want to go into that discussion. Yeah.
So let's talk about some of your work. What recent project have you been involved in that you're particularly proud of or would like to talk about?
So let's look at something. So well, StORy is I'm obviously very proud of.
Yeah.
So that's an ongoing project, and I'm really very proud of that. So and again, the credit just really doesn't go to me because it goes to my colleagues, and in particular Ingrid here at Kinaxis, who's been architecting that solution. What I'm proud of, well, let's take the something I was involved with prior to working on StORy. We've improved an algorithm, our own algorithm, and could show that it solved a problem at one of our semiconductor manufacturing customers and avoided an error which was, in a large problem. It basically was reduced to very little, just because we did a better algorithm. And we call this improved time phase parameter usage. Okay, so it's a little nerdy, but the customer could actually see, okay, so this was it before, it didn't work. Afterwards, it worked.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'm trying to give an answer here. And yeah, that made us proud. So
yeah,
again, I wasn't only the only one doing this, but so where you see a direct impact.
Yeah, thank you. So, as we've noted, you're a decades-long Informs member. What's your favorite Informs experience so far? There's probably been many, I hope.
Yeah, you have the two things where you sit in a lecture and it's really good. There's some memorable speakers. Irv Lustig is, for me, one I always like to listen to. You find the guy with the hat, yes.
Yes.
Meeting new people. Sometimes, in my case, a very interesting case, and that's for here. I've met a colleague of mine who I've met the last time 30 years ago in France, and that's pretty cool. Well, if it wasn't for this Informs conference, we wouldn't have met.
Right.
So meeting colleagues is the other good experience, and I'm probably not the first one to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying you haven't seen that colleague for 30 years, or you met him 30 years ago and you see him at some conferences?
No,
Oh.
We met 32 years ago in Toulouse. And I remembered his last name scrolling through the program here, and then we connected, and that was cool.
No, that's cool. Yeah, thank you. So having been to both the annual meeting and the analytics conference, how would you describe each of these to new members or a first-time attendee to those meetings?
Yeah, so to the new members, if you can go to the business analytics, you get better food.
They are very, that is important.
And then business analytics is a lot smaller, a lot more practice-oriented, and it's easier to meet people. On the other hand, here you've got a wide variety, so to learn something completely new, I think the fall event has also something to offer. For me, I still need to get used to it, maybe better prepare next time, and really find out where I want to go. But I also use this as again, a new inspiration of some sessions I've never heard before, and like that piece. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you, of course, yes. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where are you from? Where do you live? Favorite things about those places?
Okay, so I live in San Diego, in beautiful California. I didn't grow up there, so I grew up in Germany. And we've been in Berlin before moving over to California. Great time with my kids in California. Actually, they got a good education there, which is not something we expected when we moved over from Germany. But in suburban San Diego, actually the education was very, very, very good.
Good.
What I'm interested in is sailing, so my my kids, I taught my kids sailing. Now they're so much better than me, and they tell me what I'm doing wrong. But sailing is something you can do in San Diego, so it's competitive sailing, and
Okay.
it's not cruising. That's a different brand. So we go out on a small boat. It's racing, and then we come in, and it's like, you know, a soccer game, or you go to a bike meet, or I don't know what else. So it's not the cruising piece, and that's something we're very interested in, and had a lot of fun doing it.
Okay. What about Berlin? If someone who's never been there, I've never been there. What should I see or do if I were to visit?
Okay. So the one thing coming from sailing, I think about more than half of all the professional sailors in the competitive area come from Berlin.
Really?
So even though Berlin is, it's not at the ocean, it has sailing is big there. Okay, so that's for me. Not in Berlin itself. There are many things to do. If you have the trip to Germany and you're still under 80, go to Berlin. You can do the Munich thing and everything else. It's nice too, but there's so much happening in Berlin, and it's a city worth visiting and experiencing. So I had a lot of fun there, and it's a great city.
Great. I'd like to get over there sometime.
You have to.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us something that not many people know about you.
Oh,
Hidden talents.
hidden talents. Still do bike rides now. This is newer. After my kids got me, well, so the deal was I buy the bike, they can use it, but then I can use it. So they're off back to school, back east, and
So now it's yours.
now it's mine. I'm using it a lot, and actually it's good. It's this road biking in San Diego. It's something I discovered fairly recently, and I'm glad I did, because it's a good exercise.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a little uncontroversial, I guess.
Great. Well, thank you. That's all I have for you today. Thanks so
Okay,
much.
cool.
Thanks.